Scorn is a work of art that has being a game tacked onto the side of it. This game has really been through a roller coaster of coverage, from the marketing saying it's a survival horror, a huge development time, and everyone on YouTube saying it's dog shit. I think if Scorn had set different expectations for itself, it would have been received a lot better than it was on its release. Understanding the market, survival horror really seems to sell, so it would make sense for advertisement and gameplay to somewhat reflect that. But Scorn does not feel like a survival horror. It more so feels like a strong exploration and puzzle game, which the development should have leaned into, with enemies and combat underdeveloped, being where the game falls short. I remember one portion of the game being really low on resources and essentially having to run through a corridor of enemies, when I wish I could have been able to stop and admire a lot of the fleshy constructs I was surrounded in. To understand why this game had such a rough launch, it needs to be talked about from outside of the game itself. The world building put together in this game is extremely impressive to be coming from Ebb Software, a team made of 10 people who worked on the game since 2014, which is also a very long time for a title to be put together. Supposedly they had issues with funding and lashed out at fans due to their frustration with being spread very thin as a team and losing funds, saying they weren't fully able to focus on just making the game. Being a creative myself, I can understand the frustration of just wanting to focus on stuff I'm making, as I'm sure most of us can. This is the first game that Ebb Software has released, so people bring up development hell when talking about Scorn, but not even really understanding what that means. Development hell comes from when later on, when you're creating something, things you created in the past begin to give you problems in the present, so you have to spend a lot of time going back to fix the mistakes you had made. By 2018, the game had been completely remade because of so many problems they ran into during the development. So, with all of that out there, I think the game could have succeeded more if the combat wasn't a part of it, and enemies just either didn't exist or were more easily avoidable. And that's not me being a game reviewer can't beat the tutorial. It was just more frustrating. Like, I didn't really struggle with the enemies at all. I just wanted to be able to admire the areas. The combat is extremely slow and becomes more irritating than fun because of the lack of supplies. There's a boss towards the end of the game that I ran around for like 20 minutes because I didn't fully understand the mechanics of the boss. Eventually something loses the horror element and just becomes frustrating when this happens. I became torn though because Scorn succeeds immensely in atmosphere. I really enjoyed the beginning half of the game a lot because I spent most of the time looking at stuff and being able to get lost in the environment. The story is told through the environment, so it gives incentive to really pay attention to your surroundings as you progress through Scorn and figuring out the puzzles. You can stop at any point in this game, take your hand off of the camera, and be staring at a piece of art on your screen. There's a few I found that are like genuinely good wallpaper material. To me, there's not many games that I can say that I'm able to do that with. I hope something we can take away from this game is seriously just how beautiful this dystopia is. Now, would I recommend it? I would only recommend Scorn if you are looking for a slow experience that is occasionally trying to shock the hell out of you, and you really dig the biomechanical type of art style. I would give it a thumbs up. If you get it on sale for the price of $40 that it sits at, I don't know if I can recommend this game, but 100% the advertising did this game dirty. If you're going into it, expect it to be kind of a slog for the most part. The combat is just really slow, and a lot of it is just very, very slow paced looking at the environment that they designed.